Dear Dr. Iden, thank you for joining us today for the International ORP Foundation Executive Interview Series 2025. This series features leaders in occupational health and safety celebrating their achievements. And this year is even more special as we celebrate the 25th anniversary of the International ORP Foundation in Cartagena de Indias, Colombia. We're thrilled to have you here today.
It feels so good to be here.
Thank you so much. Now, let me introduce you to our audience. Today, we are privileged to speak with Ehi Iden, a passionate leader in workplace safety and the president of the Occupational Health and Safety Foundation for Africa. He has spent over 20 years driving change in employee health, mental well-being, and workplace safety. Is everything correct?
That's correct.
Thank you so much. So before we dive into the questions, let me give our audience a quick roadmap for the today's discussion. We will start by exploring the biggest occupational health and safety challenges in Africa. Then we will discuss the role of technology and artificial intelligence. Next, we will take a look at practical strategies companies can use to prioritize health. And finally, we will take a look at the upcoming 25th anniversary of the International ORP Foundation. Shall we start, Dr. Iden?
Yes, we can start.
Great. Dr. Your leadership in occupational health and safety across Africa has been truly inspiring. Through your work as president of the Occupational Safety and Health Foundation for Africa, you've brought professionals together to drive meaningful change. So, to set the stage, what do you see as the biggest challenges in workplace safety across the continent?
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. Let's start by why we had to first bring people together to network to drive the change in Africa. We needed African voice to be heard in terms of occupational health and safety. Before now, what we see is that, different regions have occupational health and safety bodies, and Africa was just too disjointed. We're fragmented. We couldn't come together to speak in one voice. Yet we have a common problem that was facing us all, but we didn't have the boldness or the audacity to come together and confront those problems. So it led to people working in silos. The man in Namibia is working. The lady in Kenya is working, but they may be working on the same thing, but working in it from different places. So people are working in silos, and we didn't have the opportunity to share information, and that led to Africa not having data on what they were doing. So these are what led to the formation of OSHAfrica, which I initiated, a couple of years ago, which of course has spiraled really greatly and changing the face of occupational safety and health across Africa. Now we go to the changes, the challenges. Yes, there are challenges, because if these challenges were not there, I think we could have done way more better than we are doing right now. There are quite a lot of challenges we're dealing with, and starting from what the issue of legislation. It's not just the absence of legislation. Some places have legislation, but the inadequacy in those legislations are also not helping us at all. Most countries in Africa have legislation that were there during the time of the pre-colonial era. And I think in Nigeria, even I saw that the mental health ordinance was pre-colonial. That was about 1952 or thereabout. And other countries have a fragment of such policies or legislations within the operational framework. So because of this, we don't see what to hold on to as legislation to actually prosecute issues that concern occupational safety. And in the midst of this, you will find out that most African countries have already signed or ratified the ILO conventions. So the question is, why are these laws, these conventions not domesticated within our local policy? So legislation became a very key issue, where you find out that people have no guidelines to work with. We have nothing to say what the law is requiring. So it became a problem dealing with occupational safety and making visible progress, when it comes to occupational safety at country level. This we have also looked at from OSHAfrica perspective as a big challenge, and we are dealing with it. What we've done in OSHAfrica as it concerns that is, one of our committees is called scientific committees that focus on OSH legislation and policy review. We want to see what are the OSH legislations that are available across the 54 countries in Africa, and what are the similarities and what are the differences. Are they up to the modern day realities as it concerns workplace and safety requirements? So we are doing this review. We are doing this review right now, reviewing those policies. As a matter of fact, we've done over 82% of that work as led by Professor Titilola Hamid, who is leading that arm of our operation. So what we are doing with this is that we want to see how we can harmonize all the policies, bring them together, look at how do we review to make it look an up-to-date policy. But the overall aim is to see how we can actually get this thing done, then give to African Union to review and see a way that this can be signed off as what we can call the African OSH protocol, which of course becomes a guiding document that talks about occupational safety across Africa. That's one. Then training also and education is also a big issue. You find out that most Africans who have been trained in the field of occupational safety, most of them got trained from the West. And you know what it means to live, a developing country where we have scarce resources and poverty is a key issue. Then your parents are able to raise funds, no matter how difficult it is for you to go and train in the West. Also, those are also issues that there are not enough of. We didn't really have enough occupational safety institutions, to train Africans in that area of occupational safety. And that became a problem. So the earlier people that were trained here, they had to go train in the UK, in Australia, in US, and many other countries to come back to work in Africa. So what we have done right now, we are looking at, we started advocating for setting more institutions of training in the field of health and safety across Africa. But I'm glad to announce now that today we have a number of institutions right now in Africa that are functional in training in the field of occupational safety. Within universities, there are departments right now. As a matter of fact, the work I did recently for the University of Johannesburg, while I was doing the researches on that work, I found out that I was able to profile about 33 institutions that are actually offering training in the field of occupational safety and related area. I was very impressed, and that's what we have advocated for, and that's what we're getting. So that's getting better right now. But we also need, in the midst of this, we need government commitment. Government to commit to this and see how we can set up more institutions so that people can actually access them. Then the third area we have challenges is the issue of funding. Occupational health and safety is mostly not funded properly across Africa. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Abuja Declaration that talks about, that was 2012 or so, that talks about the increasing the national health budget to 2 digits, and that has been there for so long. Most countries don't have their health budget even increased to 2 digits. As my country, as a clear example, our health budget is still less than 6% of the national budget. So you find out that in most countries, occupational health units are mostly thrown under health, where there's no enough funds to prosecute health issues. So you find out that occupational health actually suffer adversely. Even the Ministry of Labor, where they suffer adversely because there's no enough funding to actually fund occupational health. And when you can't fund occupational health services, it also means that research also suffers, because when there is funding to fund occupational health, that funding also caters for research, and that's a big issue we're having. Then we also have issue of OSH and labor inspectorate. OSH and labor inspectorate is also a big issue. We found out that most countries don't have enough OSH and labor inspectors, and even where they have, there are no resources, and like I said earlier on, to get them adequately trained to function the way we want them to function. So take a clear example as Nigeria many years ago. Nigeria is over 200 million population. About 7, 8 years ago, Nigeria had less than 300 OSH and labor inspectors, for that kind of population. But I'm happy right now that it's been scaled up. We have close to 1,000 OSH and labor inspectors, which of course is still not enough for the population. So this is something we have across many African countries. That's a big challenge, trying to see how we can function properly and initiate good projects. But these are clear issues. But when you don't have functional or effective OSH and labor directorate or department, it's obvious that most workplaces will not be inspected for a whole year or 2 or even 3 years, because there are not enough manpower to actually go to those places to inspect. So it's highly under-resourced. This is one of the problems also we also have. We are advocating, one, let there be specialized training for OSH and labor inspectors, so that they're able to know exactly what to look out for, how to do labor inspection, the ethics of labor inspectorate. We need to have those trainings scaled up. Then we also need to see how how they can be well remunerated. When labor inspectors are not well remunerated, they are bound to do short cut. I mean, they could be bright. That is the truth. Because when you're being paid poorly, and now you go to inspect the place, you see violation, and the person before you go to that say, okay, can you take this? It's called the brown envelope syndrome. So these are issues we're already dealing with. Also, again, we also need to see how government can increase the number of people that are employed within this labor inspectorate program. Is also a key issue. Then finally, we have issue of the informality of work. I mean, Sub-Saharan Africa has high level of informal workforce. I mean, this makes up more than 80% of the GDP of such sub-region. And what do you do? Yet, we have the informal workforce, yet there are no labor OSH legislation that provides for informal workers. So most times they are actually exempted, or not just exempt, are forgotten within the value chain of occupational safety. So when you look at this, you find that these are conglomerates of problems or challenges that we're dealing with in spite of the scarce resources. But in the midst of this, we still see how best we can prosecute the issue of occupational safety. But are they challenging to us? Yes, they are challenging. Are we finding it difficult to work through? Yes, we are struggling to see how we can actually work. But in a nutshell, these are the challenges we've had within this space.
Thank you so much for your response. Your passion really stands out. And what keeps you motivated in this journey?
That's a very good question. Well, what keeps me motivated in this journey is when I go home every day and I see what I've contributed. It may not come to instantaneous outcome for each person, but I feel so great. I feel so good about it, knowing that every contribution I make in workplace health and safety, whether it comes in form of campaign, whether it comes in form of research or creating intervention, what I've known or come to see over time is that such effort protects someone's father. Such effort protects someone's mother from getting injured or dying in the workplace. Such effort protects someone's children. Such effort also protects someone's breadwinners. So at the end of the day, whether how you look at it from head or tail, every service we put in, every effort we put in, somebody is able to go to work and return home at the end of the day without any injury or without exposure to likely things that will result to future occupational health diseases or illnesses. So when you look at this and look at people that went to work every day and they came back at the end of the day without injury, you should give yourself a tap at the back, whether somebody praises you or not. Just know that what you have done, you have made great contribution for those people to stay alive and to be healthy, not just for themselves, but for their families. Why? Because the death of any person due to workplace accident is not about the death of the person. The person is only a primary victim. There is also what we call secondary victim, the trauma that the family members have to suffer. I mean, whatever we do, these are contributions that preserve entire family and again, entire community and entire nation. So this is the motivation.
That's a powerful perspective. It's clear that progress in workplace safety requires dedication. So, with technology advancing rapidly, many see artificial intelligence as a game changer in the field. From your perspective, how can modern technologies and artificial intelligence help create safer and healthier workplaces?
Thank you so much. Modern technology is a game changer. But we need to also understand that every change brings about improvement. Every improvement comes with its own set of risks. So technology are deployed to workplaces. Yes, it makes work done faster. Yes, it reduces pressure that people would have gone through. Yes, but understand also, it also comes with its own set of risk, and it also comes with its own set of challenges that people have to go through. Yes, do we need them? We do, because if you take yourself back to how we started working from the early days, I mean, when we were dealing all those things and working with our hands, the work pattern have shifted greatly. I mean, from hands to cognitive, and this is the age that we are in right now. And if you have shifted from hand to cognitive, it means also that technology also have to shift along the same line, because we don't need more power or more muscles to get our work done. But are they going to help the workplaces? Absolutely yes. Talk about AI as a clear instance. I mean, we've seen a lot of work that could have been done manually that are now being automated. When you automate those processes, what it does for you is that the risk that the individual or human being would have been exposed to doing that job, the risk has been shifted to machine or technology. What that means is that someone has been saved. Okay, give a clear example. You do some kind of job where you inhale chemicals. By compulsorily, you must inhale chemicals. Now we have been able to create a technical device that does this job without you being physically present in that place. Now we have a device that's present in that place that can do that job. AI or technology do not have any need to force it because they don't inherit those, because they are mechanical or technical devices. So what you have done is that somebody has been saved. In Nigeria, I mean, in construction is a clear example. There's a machine called jackhammer. I was passing through walking through Lagos Street some time ago. A few years ago, I see somebody they were remodeling the road construction and they were using jackhammer. I stopped my vehicle and I went to the guy who was supervising the project. I told the guy I was working to stop that job. He stopped that job and I asked the guy who was supervising. I told him, jackhammer has been ruled out of construction. These are things that the employee uses to excavate the ground, and it leaves him with so much vibration, and which of course has been seen to lead to what you call Reynolds syndrome. So I told him this is no longer functional. This is no longer useful in the workplace. These have been replaced by automation. Why are you making a Nigerian to work using jackhammer that leaves him with vibration? That person definitely will go back home at the end of the day. His body will be riddled with pain. He's not able to sleep, and pain has been linked to insomnia and loss of sleep. He's not able to sleep. At the end of the day, he wakes up, he feels he slept, but he never really had a good night's rest. When I spoke to the man that was supervising the project, he said, yes, he knows that this is no longer you. I said, but if you know that this is no longer in use, why are you making a fellow human being have this machine to do this work? I stopped that job. I didn't need to wait for government. I told him this machine had to be taken out of this site. When you are ready to come with an excavation machine to do this job, bring an excavation machine. For this man, he wants to take this machine out of this site. I mean, people are looking at me, what audacity, but what I have done in that way is that I was able to save someone that will have future damages on his body based on the manual machine he was using. So this is how automation saves or improves business processes. Even when you talk about people working and you see trucks and payloaders actually, I mean, moving past, most of those payloaders right now have what you call sensitive devices, right? They are sensors. When they get too close to a human being, I mean, forklift machine, for as an instance, when they get too close to a human being where they would have caused accidents, the machine on its own let them know that there's a human being close to you because of those sensors. These are the things that AI have done for us. And so definitely it has come in as, I mean, slowly, but not improving greatly. But it's going to make workplaces better. It's going to reduce the rate of accident and go make work pace faster. But mind you, when we bring them in also, there's also a downside to this. The question we ask ourselves, what impact with introduction of AI to the workplace have on the employees' well-being and mental health? When you use AI doesn't get tired or suffer fatigue. AI can work with you for 3 days non-stop. But remember, an employee is just a human being, cannot work at that pace 3 days non-stop. And most times, because we want to meet productivity line, there's every temptation that will drive human beings beyond their coping capacity. So when AI is being introduced, you must also keep in mind that people are going to be drawn beyond their coping capability so that we don't draw people, overrun people, overwork people, where you start having people have to suffer, their well-being have to suffer, their mental health have to suffer, and a whole lot of changes. So while we're introducing AI, we must understand the fact that we must first think about the well-being of the individual and the mental health of the workers that are working with us. If you bring AI in and they make the work processes faster, but what damage, what impact negatively does it have on the health and well-being of the employees? That must be considered in every AI you are introducing to the workplace, and that is my submission.
That's a fascinating observation. And what is one technological advancement you're most excited about?
There are quite a number of them. I think the one I'm most excited about right now, some devices that help me to do risk assessment inspection and help me to process the record. So it's easier for me to do inspection or assessment of the workplace the moment I'm keying what I see into the device, it's helping me to translate it. I don't need to come back and start translating into graph, or it's translating to me, in processing it for me real time. This helps in the work. I mean, now we have also some devices where you can actually drill from afar. So a number of these devices are coming in. It depends on what you want to do. Talk about devices that that you use in AVMS, what you call IVMS, in-vehicle monitoring system, like vehicle tracking system, where you have your drivers are overspeeding. You're able to track them in your offices. Just look at that alone and imagine how many lives that have saved. I mean, from road traffic accident or deaths through overspeeding. So these are some of the very key devices that we have that have improved work processes and work safety within the workplace. But I just think I'm here and I'm thinking there needs to be a stronger intercourse, collaboration, or partnership between us professionals and technological practitioners. Then we need to start talking. There needs to be stronger communication. I mean, interplay between these two sets of professionals, because we need us professionals to keep the workplaces safe. We need the technological experts to help us design devices that will help the other professionals to keep the workplaces safe. So we need further interactions, I mean, between these two sets of professions, so that we are able to turn out. We need to understand what we are thinking, because if we're able to sit them down, let's have a strategy session, we all sit down and let's crack our brains. They know what we are thinking and they're able to take notes, helping us to bring solutions, technological solutions to what we are thinking. It will make workplaces better and it will make people feel safer in the workplace. So I'm just recommending that there should be stronger interaction between these two bodies in ensuring that we're able to come up with smarter solutions, I mean, that will help in workplace health and safety and well-being of employees as well.
Collaboration is indeed a key.
Absolutely.
And building up on this, how could companies without large budgets also leverage the innovations?
Okay. The truth is that it's not a matter of budget that helps you to drive innovation. It's a matter of the will to keep your people safe. If you don't have the will to keep your people safe, healthy in the workplace, if you like, let your budget be as high as the whole budget of the United States of America, you will do nothing. Where is that driving us to? We need people who have the safety, health, and well-being of their employees at the back of their mind. We need people who come to work daily. All they are thinking about is, how do I keep the workplace safe? How do I ensure people that come to work here, nobody get accidented? They are all able to come to the workplace and go back to their families the way they were released to us. But let me quickly establish this. Those set of leadership of workplaces have one thing in mind. They don't see employees as people that were just brought in to be exploited in the name of salaries every month. They see them as people that have come to contribute positively to their growth, their prosperity, and their productivity. Every employee that comes to work every day is on lease, underline that, is on lease by the family that allow him to come to work on a daily basis. And you owe it as a leader of organization, a CEO or whatever you are, you owe it as a responsibility to take these people back to their families the way they were leased to you in the morning. Mind you, every company leases equipment. Every piece of equipment that we lease, we watch over that equipment so that they don't get damaged, because there's a lease agreement. If it get damaged, the lease agreement, we have to pay a lot for it. We need this kind of mindset to also be brought to how we treat employees. Know that families that allow employees to come to the workplace, they are the leasing family of the employee to you. And whatsoever you pay at the end of the month as salary or monthly remuneration, that is the leasing payment or price you are paying. You don't have any right to bring somebody out of his family and the person, either the person dies at the course of work, or the person gets exposed to occupational health substance in the occupational health exposure in the workplace and lead to a long-term disease. At the end of the day, the family suffers. The leasing family suffer. We must keep this in mind. Then again, you don't need budget to do this. The first thing we ask for leadership for is the will. Once you have the will to ensure that every employee that comes to you, you owe it as a sense of responsibility to take them home. You will do whatever you have within the budget to ensure that workplaces are protected. This is what we're looking for. We don't want the figures are already too high. We don't want systems or leadership that we add to the figure. So we must keep the safety, health, and well-being of employees in mind and create what you call safety, health, and well-being culture. You see, that culture doesn't need funds to create it. It's a matter of you think as a sense of responsibility. When you see your employees, what do you tell them? Are you a CEO that sits in the office and all you do is to rock the armchair? That armchair you're rocking was purchased by the effort of the entire workers. So that being true, your responsibility is to look out for every work. That's what you call squat walk around. You need to walk around. As a CEO, your responsibility is not to stay in the office and just look through the window. Look at every department, walk through. It may not be every day. Take out time to walk through every department. When you're doing this also, it's also helping you break your sedentary behavior. Walk through department as much as you can. Know your employees, know your workers, see the conditions at which they work, know what they are going through, because most times it's not even the system, it's the people that supervise the workers. You are only able to know that your mid-level managers, your supervisors are actually maltreating workers. There's toxicity in the workplace only because you just took a walk to just find out how workers are doing. How many CEOs actually ask workers, how are you doing? Do you need funds to do this? No. Are you okay? Do you need funds to do this? No. We need the gap between the seat of leadership and the milling floor. We need that gap to be reduced. When that gap is reduced, you don't need funds to shrink that gap. That gap needs to be shrunk properly so that you can get instructions to the milling floor, and milling floor can get feedback from milling floor back to the boardroom. This is what we are looking at. So this doesn't need funding to do. It's a matter of you have the right kind of leadership that has the will, the audacity, the boldness, and the compassion to keep people safe in the workplace. That is the right health and safety leadership we are looking for in workplaces.
I completely agree. A truly safe workplace isn't just about innovations and the budget. It's about people. So, Dr. Iden, you've spent years helping organizations creating safer, healthier workplaces. What strategies should organizations implement to ensure that mental health and occupational safety are prioritized as integral parts of business?
Hey, thank you so much. This has high connectivity to the points we just discussed. Like again, I come back to leadership. Then we must also see, most time we talk about leadership, we look at the CEO. CEO is not just the leadership. Whatsoever happens in the organization comes from the board. Okay? One of the first strategy is to see how you can. That's what we do right now. What we do pro bono service. If the board of organization want us to talk to them about mental health and well-being, can we talk? They say they don't have money to pay. Okay, can we talk to you free of charge? Okay, come. Because what we're doing is we know that when the board understands the benefit inherent in implementing health safety and well-being policies, they will be able to, approve it to run across the workplace. So the first strategy is how do you speak to the board? Get someone you know in the board. Look for how you can, if the board is having a strategy session, look for how to smuggle yourself in by telling them, just invite me, let me just do about 2 minutes talk. When you start your talk, it's not going to be in 2 minutes. Why? Because even the board members that are seated know that whatever you're talking about as it concerns mental health and well-being, it concerns them. So when you get this board approval, you are not able to say, okay, what do we do in this company right now? Can we see your health and safety policy? Most health and safety policies that were designed or created before 2020, most of them do not have mental health and well-being component in them. They have health and safety, but the component of mental health and well-being could be missing. Now, what do we do? If there is no policy that talks about mental health and well-being of employees, there's nothing we can do. What can be done are those things that are documented within the policy. Look for how to smuggle health and mental health and well-being into the company's policy first. But that comes in. That's the first strategy. We now have mental health and well-being, as part of our policy. What does it say? We now begin to say, how do we take this ability to expand it? Then once you've done that, Now you have the right kind of leadership. Engage, have maybe just 5 members of management. It's not a big, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Talk to them what mental health and well-being really means. And if they implement mental health and well-being strategies, what could be done? The gain inherent. Mind you, what we're doing right now in Nigeria, or what we do from this company to our clients, we are beginning to link mental health and well-being to retirement, not just about mental health and well-being in the workplace. Because when we protect workers, when we are able to manage their mental health and well-being while they work, what we are doing, we are investing into their retirement life. Life does not end in retirement. It's a transition into a different life entirely. But most times, what we have is that we ruin employees' life, expose them to terrible issues. Work overload. Bad management system, maltreatment, toxicity in the workplace, fatigue, burnout. You see, they can actually absorb this for the years they have to work. But you know where it ends. The impact or the effect of those acts start manifesting when those guys are no longer in the service. So what do you really want? You want to have, do you want to get connected to the life of your employees from the point they work and the point they retire, and even life after retirement? Health, mental health, and well-being become very clear strategy. And this has to also come from the seat of the CEO. Firstly, let's destigmatize mental health in the workplace. And that's where the CEO comes in. I'm a CEO here. And what I do, I sing about my mental health to everybody that gets to listen here. So when you do this, what you're doing is that they are hearing the voice of the CEO discussing his mental health challenges. So when you do that, you have normalized that conversation so that people that work under you are able to talk about mental health. But as it is right now, we talk about physical health. Mental health is on that wrap. We need to unbundle that wrap. We need to open it up that people are able to talk about it comfortably. We are not doing that. Even in the healthcare sector, same thing. So we need to open, but the discussion has to start from the CEOs. People that we work with just copy from you. If the CEO could talk about this, if the CEOs suffer this, and able to talk about this, I'm actually dealing with what I've not been able to talk about. Have meetings, even if you have maybe 5 minutes meeting, let's just be okay. Mental health and well-being. See, the truth is that, like I said earlier on, the distance, the gap has to be shrunk. The only way you can actually have access to know how your workers feel, that's impact of work on their well-being, is when you can have access to the workers. So people need to be able to walk to you and tell you, sir, this is what I'm going through. So we need to remove those barriers, those walls. Those walls were built by men, and it takes men to take down those walls. We need to open up the space so that if we say we are really workers fighting or laboring to achieve same purpose, we should be able to see ourselves irrespective of how we stand. No matter how far the person is, we should be able to see that is my worker. But the day you build walls, the walls shits you from seeing your worker, and until you see your worker, you can't know how your worker feels. So this is where the conversation has to start. Then maintain what you call mental health and well-being culture. There should be a culture. So that you see when the culture is adversely violated, you know what to do. And the culture it's not just the CEO's culture, it's the organizational culture where how can people call in when they really have mental health issue? How can people come and talk to their HRO when they have mental health issue? The truth is that most workplaces we see today, trust is broken. Mental health does not thrive in an environment where trust is broken. That's what I want to establish. There must be trust amongst employees. There must be trust between the managers and the people that they manage. The only way, okay, a clear example, you give somebody that used to deliver so much in your workplace, all of a sudden he's becoming shoddy, he's not able to meet up his demand, able to meet up his targets. The next thing we send him query. Oh, we appraised you last time, your targets, you have not met your target, and let's take this as the last one. If it continues, your employment will be terminated. We are quick to fly these kind of letters around, memos around in the workplace without considering the impact it has on the person who reads that letter. But the truth is that we carry out our threats, and only for us to find out. I was just telling you lastly that we have an employee who used to deliver on his assignment and without difficulty. All of a sudden, that employee began to struggle. And the next thing we do is we start issuing threatful letters, queries. If you are not able to deliver on this in SS and S time, we might have to terminate your employment. Those letters are quick to go around. Memos are quick to go around in the workplaces. But I was saying, only for the HRO manager to find out 3 or 6 months after, at the time that this person was being issuing this dreadful letter, the person was battling critical divorce that nobody knew. He was working with us, battling divorce that was having impact on his mental health. We didn't consider what was changing in his mood, how was the system changing, what was responsible. All we're concerned was that he was not able to deliver on his productivity and his assignment. And the only thing we could do was to issue threatful letters and issue queries. The question is, when you find out 6 months after that, you were only compounding these guys' mental health issues, how do you feel as a leader of an organization? So we need to first see how we can understand how people feel, know our employees, know when their mood changes, know what they are going through. Ask questions. Are you okay? Ask your wife, ask your family, ask your husband. Is everything okay? It doesn't cost you anything as a CEO to ask those questions. It just means you are shrinking the gap that exists between you and the employees. And on the long run, it keeps your organization so productive, prosperous, and it keeps employees actively involved in the goal of the organization.
That's such a human-centered approach. How can companies measure the real impact of the strategies?
Okay, fine. You have to find out. One of the key ways to measure it is how many people are falling sick. What's the attrition rate? How many people are leaving your organizations? Most time, people leave your organization not because they are not paid well, because their mental health and well-being are not catered for. How many people are leaving your organization? How many people are able to recommend other people to come to the organizations? These are some ways. How long are people staying working with you? How happy are your employees? How happy is, how relational are they? These are ways you measure those things. How free is an employee able to walk to his manager and have a conversation with his manager? These are ways you measure. When these things are not available, you just know that when you see people leaving your organizations and they're not staying long, attrition rates, turnover time is becoming so high. People are leaving, they come into work, they leave. You know that a lot of things are wrong. People are not able to recommend people to come and work in the organization, and people are not able to live together happily. You know that something is wrong with your strategy, because when you have a system where there is functional strategy on health and well-being, there are no barriers. People relate. Nobody is conscious of, oh, this is my boss. We remove the barriers. We relate as a people and as a community that are pursuing one cause. And one thing also you also need to consider, what we do here in Nigeria is we use what you call the employee and the employee's family approach. Remember, when you talk about mental health, it's about the entire health and well-being of the employee. But employee does not just live 24 hours of his time in the workplace. Employee lives in 2 places, in the workplace, and he has a family at his home front. We should not just leave out the family home front out of our plan. When you employ an individual, by extension, you employ his family. If you like, protect the employee's mental health and well-being in the workplace, there's a place he retires to every day at the end of work. If that place is toxic, everything you have done for that employee to protect his mental health and well-being in the workplace will be destroyed or wasted by what is going on within the home front. So what we do in Nigeria for the company to work for, we use what we call employees and employees family approach. What that means that whatsoever we are teaching the employee, indirectly, we also see how we can make those teachings, those knowledge available to the employee's family, so that at every point we are almost at the same page so that we can balance out how we manage our employees, how we manage ourselves, so that mental health and well-being results can just be good enough, to what you want.
Dr. Iden, thank you so much for your response. It's clear that strategies we've discussed today are vital in building safer and healthier workplace. However, the true progress goes beyond what individual companies can do alone. The biggest breakthrough happened when experts and organizations come together to collaborate and exchange knowledge to shape the future of occupational health and safety. Thus, Dr. Iden, we are curious, how do gatherings like the upcoming 25th anniversary of the International ORP Foundation drive global progress in the field of occupational health and safety?
Before I go to your question, let me first say a big salutation to Hans Kulonwiski. He's a great man driving this organization. what Hans has done over time, I've been to ORP congresses, and I've seen the gathering of people that I don't know how he gets them. Sometimes I feel jealous because I can't reach those people the way he reaches them. You see, the truth is that what we're doing right now, in the next conference that's coming up, is a gathering of experts. The truth is that if there are experts that gathered and there are no people to learn, the experts gather for nothing. So we are using this forum to shout out to those who intended participants and those who are registered. Please come out en masse. There are experts, the bulk of knowledge that are available to speak to you, help you regalvanize your chat you on the different course entirely in how to protect your health and well-being. We need people to come out en masse because this is going to be another massive event that's being put forth by ORP Foundation. So the expert that will be available, I'm not in doubt. You know why? I know the capacity of Hans and his team. So people just have to be available, and we know that a lot will happen. Then secondly, don't just come and sit at this conference as a spectator. There's what you call, definitely there's what you're going to have information overload. It always happens. Sit, have your paper, write things down. If you go back to your organization after this conference, you need to see how you can implement things you've learned as a result of this conference. If we are not able to translate knowledge to practice, we have not learned anything. This conference will be a success on two grounds. You come deliberately, you sit down, take note and write. Go back to your organization, what you've learned, what you've taken down as your notes. See how you can use to talk to your organization and translate those information into practice. When you do this, the conference, we say, has absolute success. Why? Because what we've taught you at the conference is reflecting positively in the health and well-being of the employees. Once we have achieved this, we can say we had a successful conference, and this is it.
This is a beautiful remark, Doctor. It is indeed important to hear and not just to listen. And how can we ensure that the conversations from events like these turn into real change in workplaces?
Yeah, like I said, is to just keep pushing that narrative that if we come for conferences and without having things to take back home to implement, we only came to just sit and wasted our time. And this, I think, should be reinforced in all the sessions that we have. All we want you to do today is just sit, take notes. You may not, every word that comes out, the punchlines may not all be for you, but there are things that will be said here that relate to your organization. Take notes. If there's only one thing you are able to bring forth as a change after the conference, you've done well. So we need to just keep reassuring the people and encouraging them or beseeching them to see how they can take the knowledge they get from the conference, take it back to the organization and see how they can implement those things. Then the leaders that come from organization, and this is what we should be doing. Let's have, you have your registration, you have CEOs, you have directors that are registered to come to the meeting. Let's have a quick session, round them up in a room. It's called the CEO session, okay? Or the CEO coffee conversations. These are the people who are top level managers or vice presidents of companies that came for the conference. These are the people that can implement things, that have the power, the authority, and the resources. Let's have a guide, bring them all together, have a smart session for them, for just CEOs. Let's see how we can talk to them. And in that smart meeting, we can say, okay, with this and all we have heard, we need to just make one commitment, not two, one commitment. As I'm going back to my company after this conference, this is one thing I want to do based on what I've heard. The CEO smart meeting could be maybe the third day or the final day of the conference. This is one thing I want to do. So you take their names down, hold them accountable to that one thing they want to do, measure them on that, assess them on that one thing they want to do, so that at the end of the day, if you have about 10 or 20 CEOs or 40 CEOs in this meeting, it means 40 organizations have one thing they're implementing. It means 40 new changes have been brought across 40 organizations. This is, I think, is the way to go.
Dr. Iden, thank you so much for such an insightful and inspiring response. If there is one key message you would like our viewers to take away, what would it be?
I need every viewer, whether you work or you are a parent or related to someone who works, or you are an employer of labor, we need to understand that We have to bring humanity back to the workplace. Every employee was primarily a human being before the employee was employed and had a tag as an employee. Don't treat people like robots. We need to bring the C culture, compassion back to the workplace. The question we ask, your employee today, look into 16, 17 years from now. Your child, if your child is treated in this manner or made to work in this kind of condition, and you're watching to see your son or your daughter work in such condition, will you be happy? We are tired of seeing workers being blamed for what happened in the workplace. There should be what you call system accountability. Systems should take responsibilities for what happened in the workplace, whether accident, occupational health illness. System must take responsibility because every employer owes it as a duty of care to create safe and healthy environment for every employee they brought to the workplace. So I think every employer of labor needs to do better. Every family member of an employer, we need to create friendly environment to also preserve the mental health of our loved ones who work in workplaces. When we all team together to do this work, we'll create a better world. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Dr. Iden, thank you so much for such a deep response. And of course, big thank you to our audience. So before we wrap up, I would like to remind everyone that the 25th anniversary of the International ORP Foundation is just around the corner. We can't wait to see you all in Cartagena de Indias, Colombia later this year. Take care, stay safe, and don't forget to follow the official channels of the International ORP Foundation for more interviews like this. Bye-bye.
Bye.